to a new video. I'm back from South Africa and I just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys and just tell you a little bit of what we did. For background, I did not end up vlogging this trip simply because we had quite a tight schedule and fortunately I also fell quite sick. So yeah, I just wanted to live in the moment and just enjoy the time that I had there. But yeah, I did manage to film a little bit for you guys and I would love to just talk to you guys and tell you a little bit about what we've done, show you some impressions and also give you guys some tips if you ever go to Cape Town. And I'm also gonna link all the places for you guys in the description box down below so you can check our itinerary and check the places out. So let's get straight into it. So we flew to Cape Town because we had 2 weddings that we got invited to. So we had the first wedding, then we had a couple of days to ourselves. My partner and I met up with some friends for the second wedding. Then we had the second wedding and then we stayed in a villa with all the people from. So that was roughly our itinerary. But then we obviously had some time where we just to ourselves and we could explore Cape Town a little bit. So we flew to Cape Town, then we drove straight to the wedding venue. It took place in Gansbaai, which is about a 2-hour drive south of Cape Town, and it was a beautiful small little vineyard, cottage vibes, and yeah, the scenery was just amazing and we just had a really beautiful traditional wedding. So the first night we had a traditional South African braai, which is a barbecue. Just got ready, we just got to the venue. It's super cute. It's like a little wine farm and I'm gonna show you the view in a second, but I'm just wearing a Skims dress and pretty much that's it. It's super warm here, I'm not complaining. Definitely a good change from Germany to from 3 degrees to 30 degrees, but yeah, just got changed. We're just gonna have some braai, which is traditional African barbecue, South African barbecue, and then tomorrow is the wedding. Next day was the day of the wedding and we ended up going to the beach in the morning. I don't recall 100% which beach it was, but I believe it was close to Hermanos, and in any case I would definitely recommend you to check out Hermanos Beach. It's a really it's a massive beach. It's really broad white beach and it's perfect to just go for a walk on the beach. It is so lovely and so quiet and so peaceful. The only thing is we saw some horses galloping, well, not wild horses, but people doing horseback riding, and yeah, it's just a really lovely thing to do, especially if you do drive down to the Cape Point. So we did not end up going to the Cape Point on this trip, but that's something I definitely recommend you guys do as well. If you have a bit more time, you drive all the way to the most southern point in Africa, which is really cool. And if you do that road, you can definitely step by in Hermanos and just go for a walk on the beach. Then we had the wedding in the evening. It was really a lovely and small and intimate ceremony. And then the next day we were unfortunately quite unlucky with the weather, so it was really grey and raining. So we still ended up doing something, which is we went to the Cape Point Vineyards, which is located in Hout Bay. There's always a market on a Thursday evening, so if you go on a Thursday evening, there's some stands where you can grab food and then you can just sit outside on the lawn and watch the sunset over the ocean, and it is so beautiful. I did not film this for you guys simply because the view, there was no view. It was just cold and rainy, but I remember going there when I was at Cape Town last 8 years ago and it is lovely. So definitely recommend you guys do that on a Thursday evening. And on the Friday, we did a safari early morning, which is a funny story because basically I used to go to Johannesburg a lot because my grandparents actually lived in Johannesburg. For context, in South Africa, there's a lot of national parks and like private game reserves, especially around the Johannesburg area, which is why I said, oh, I'm going to South Africa, let's go on a safari. And I did not realize that there's actually not that many safaris around Cape Town. So I told my boyfriend that I wanted to go on a safari. He booked one for us, which was really kind, but we had to go on a 2.5 hour drive outside of Cape Town to actually get to the safari, which meant we woke up at 3:30 in the morning to go to the safari. It ended up being super nice though. We went to this place called Aquila Game Reserve. So for context, it is a private game reserve, which means that the owners of the game reserve, they pay for the animals. In this case, it meant that they kept the carnivores separate from the herbivores. So there was like a separate gated sort of area, for example, where they kept the lions. Which is really nice because if in the end, if you go to these game reserves, you like guaranteed to see a lot of animals just because it's not too big. There's spotters that like drive around and like see who the animals are and let the drivers know. But also you're not like technically in the like wilderness. Definitely nice if you really like, if you haven't seen wildlife and you just like have one day where you do safari and you want to really see a lot of animals. But if you do have more time, I would recommend you guys to like go to the big parks like Kruger Park. It was a super nice experience and for me definitely worth it. And we only had this one day, so it was super nice. We came back and had a super nice evening at this place called Constantia Glen, and this is just a winery on the hill, and we had some dinner with the friends from the wedding, and that was just a super nice chill evening. Saturday I was sick. I was completely sick. Spent the whole day sick in bed. Sunday is when we went to Oranjezicht market, which is a super nice market located at the V&A Waterfront. And it's one of these places, like yes, it is really touristic, but it is actually good. Like the food is actually good. Definitely recommend you guys check it out. It is super busy always, but it's definitely worth it. We actually ended up going twice. So we did that, and then in the afternoon we went to Boulder, which is the largely Muslim neighborhood in Cape Town, and it is famous for its colorful houses. So I remember going there 8 years ago, and we were being told at the time that it is quite dangerous, and we had a photo shoot booked, and I was obviously with my boyfriend who is from Cape Town, so we felt quite safe, and there was also some tourists walking around. So I can say that it is okay to walk around. I would just say be aware that it is not the super safest neighborhood, and I probably wouldn't go there in the evening when it's dark. In the evening we went to a really super fun place called Caprice. So you might be wondering, why would you go on a Sunday evening? But it was actually super fun. So apparently this place is always super busy and super popular on a Sunday evening. And by Sunday evening, a lot of the friends from the second wedding had flown in and had arrived in Cape Town. So we all went to Caprice, which is in Camps Bay. So Camps Bay is kind of, if you look at Cape Town, you have the city center, which is actually not super popular and super busy, I would say, with tourists. But then you have Sea Point around the corner, which has a lot of coffee shops, a lot of restaurants, a lot of breakfast spots. And then as you go along the coast, you get to Camps Bay, which is quite a, I would say, wealthy residential area, but there's a really nice promenade. It also has a lot of restaurants, cafes, has a super nice beach as well. You also pass Clifton on the way to Camps Bay, which also has a super nice beach. So the Café Caprice is located on the beachfront in Camps Bay, and that's a super nice place for a drink, for a sundowner. So that's what we did with the group. It was super fun, really good music, and we actually ended up going there as well another time. The next morning, a Monday morning, I had something super fun booked. So I really wanted to go to Robben Island. And I remember 8 years ago when I was last in Cape Town, we couldn't go because the wind was so strong that the ferries couldn't go. So yeah, I was super happy that this time we could go. And I'm very interested in history, and that was just something I've always wanted to do. You might have seen in the books that I've read that I read the book on Nelson Mandela. And I mean, this is basically where a lot of the book takes place. So it was just super nice and important for me. It's definitely worth it. They drive you around the island to a few spots, and then you actually, which I thought was really, really nice, is they actually had a former political prisoner, and he just took us into the prison and told us a bit about his story, and I just thought that was quite insightful and quite touching as well. In the afternoon, we went to a really nice lunch. So we went to Tintswalo Atlantic. It's, I believe, a boutique hotel as well, and it has a restaurant. And you basically park on top, and then they drive you down. And you sit and you have the most amazing view. So we had a really nice lunch at Tintswalo Atlantic. It was called Chef's Warehouse at Tintswalo Atlantic. And we had a little tasting menu there. Unfortunately, as I said, I was still struck with the stomach bug. So I literally could not eat a thing. Well, I did taste little nibbles, but unfortunately really couldn't eat that much. But I could still recommend it. From what I've tasted, it was super, super good, and the view is just out of this world. Then we drove back to where we stayed. So we had an Airbnb in Llandudno, which I can recommend you guys if you're looking for a little bit of more a quiet area than Camps Bay, even though Camps Bay is technically also super quiet if you stay in a Airbnb, for example. But it was a super nice village between Camps Bay and Hout Bay. And yeah, so we just drove back, and basically on the way back from the restaurant we did the Chapman's Peak. The Chapman's Peak drive is just this it's not little, it's just this scenic drive. You pay a small fee, $3 or something, and it just takes you along the route, and the views are out of this world. So definitely make sure to see the Chapman's Peak drive, because also at the end you just drive around the mountain, and then you will see this large massive beach, which is probably the broadest beach I've ever seen in my life. It's just so wide, and there's also a lot of times there's horses galloping along the beach, so that is just super nice for the view. So that was the first week that we did in Cape Town. To be fair, after the wedding, all the things we did, I literally did on my reserve generator. I was just so sick. But yeah, we just had all these plans. I didn't really want to miss out on the plans. And then luckily felt a bit better. Tuesday, we drove to the second wedding, which was in Boschendal, and that is a super, super nice wine estate. So it's basically around 1 hour, and then you get to Boschendal, which is in Stellenbosch. It's just an area, a valley, where there's lots of different wineries, estates, and Boschendal is one of the oldest. They have a restaurant, they have a breakfast restaurant, they have this thing where you can buy their wines and have a picnic on the lawns, obviously next to wine tasting. Plenty of options to explore the wine estate. And yeah, we just had a braai, so another traditional South African barbecue for the night before the wedding. It was super fun, super good music. And then the next day we had the wedding. It was just so beautiful. The scenery in there is out of this world. You just have these massive mountains behind you. So yeah, it was a super, super nice and fun wedding. Thursday after the wedding, we drove back to Camps Bay, which is where we were staying. On the way back to Camps Bay, we did a little tour. So we drove to Cork Bay, which is basically, going back to the beginning when I told you guys to drive down to the Cape Point. Cork Bay is a really, really small fisher town on the way to Cape Point. So we did that. It's super small, it's super local. You see a lot of, you see the people fishing there. We went there specifically for the seals, so you can just walk on the pier and you see the seals coming up and eating the fish. So yeah, that was super lovely. And then we went to Boulder Beach, which is probably really famous if you've seen pictures of Cape Town. It's this beach where you can see the penguins. You pay a small little entrance fee and then you can go see the penguins on the beach. And it's also a small beach where you can actually swim, which it literally looks like a beach on the Côte d'Azur. And in the evening we went back to the promenade in Camps Bay. Sundowners at Chinchilla, which is just one rooftop terrace, and the sunset was out of this world. I was stunned. Also I felt just sunset in South Africa. You know, in Germany, the sun sets and a second later it's dark, it's pitch black, and the sun would just set for 2 hours. Just kept changing colors, so beautiful for 2 hours. So most insane sunset there. On Friday we hiked up Lion's Head, which is one of the hikes, really popular hikes you can do there. There's another hill called Signal Hill, which is actually you just drive up and you watch the sunset. And then obviously there's Table Mountain, but the hike is a little bit longer. And Lion's Head is just a super cool hike. We definitely did underestimate it a bit. It wasn't super difficult, but we just didn't expect it, because basically you hike up and then at some point you have ladders that literally long pool ladders. So if you're afraid of heights, you might need to reconsider doing the hike. But then once you pass these ladders, you basically do a little bit of rock climbing and then you get there. So it is doable. We just didn't expect it to be a proper climbing thing. But yeah, it was super, super nice. We just came down, had some brunch, and in the evening I went with my boyfriend because his godson had a boxing match. So we did that, we watched that, and just came back to the villa that we stayed with our friends. Just had a nice chiller evening. Went to a place called The Lawns at the Roundhouse. To be fair, we did not love the food at the location. It's a super nice location if you want to watch the sunsets and the view. There's really nice mountain range along the coast, so that was a super nice place for a drink and to watch just watch the ocean and the sunset. But to be fair, the food I do not recommend. Sunday, we ended up going to Oranjezicht market again. We also had a little drink on the waterfront. So the waterfront is basically, it has a lot of stores, some restaurants. Yeah, I would recommend you guys. So you could go there to have a drink, do a little bit of a shop. But personally, I wouldn't stay super long there. I also think there's nicer places to find like dinner, for example. I just think it's quite touristy. But yeah, it was just close to Oranjezicht market. And in the evening, my boyfriend and I went to this place called the Bungalow, which is located next to Camp Space, next to where we stayed. It was super windy, which is also one thing in Cape Town. It's always super windy. So like the terrace was just fully covered. But yeah, really nice place, and I can definitely recommend the food. It was 10 out of 10. And we ended up going to Café Caprice. Monday, our last day in Cape Town, we actually ended up going to a really nice little winery in Constantia again. It was called Jonkershuis, hope I pronounced that well. And it was super good for brunch, so I can definitely recommend that. There's just like little geese running around, so really beautiful. And then we ended up going to the Kirstenbosch Botanical Garden, which I really wanted to go back to. Yeah, it's really interesting because basically like they explained us that the world has like different zones for the flora and fauna, and actually just the Cape, so like just a tiny tip on the map of the Cape Town region is actually a whole different floral like zone, which is super like interesting. To be fair, not a lot of things bloom at this type of season because it's fall, so it would definitely be better, and I could recommend you guys go if you're in Cape Town between August and December. But it's just a super nice like view, and like you literally feel like you're in the middle of the jungle. So we ended up going to the gardens, and it was ranked one of the 7 best botanic gardens next to like Sydney, some in the US, some in the UK. And yeah, that was the last day. In the evening we just went to stay with friends, and we had the most insane last sunset, and we just had a little farewell barbecue. I hope I could give you some inspiration for your next trip. I'll make sure to link all the places that we visited in the description box down below. If you have any questions about Cape Town, please make sure to drop them down below, and I'll be happy to answer that. I'll be very happy to do another video and yeah, just answer your questions on Cape Town in general. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.